Hey y'all, HH-BlueDynamite here. The number 2 has been blue, and I gotta say that I'm sorry for not posting anything earlier this month. My sinuses were acting up, and I'd rather not be coughing and sneezing while recording. And I was gonna do this yesterday, but my window was making weird noises due to windy weather. I'm not sure if the window is not properly installed, but what can you do? I've said before that I was gonna do an Orihime centric video, and here it is. I'm generally gonna just talk about her story more revolved around Hueco Mundo because that's where a lot of her art gets more or less poorly executed. Okay, hold on a minute. First, I want to bring up her backstory, which is like everyone else, very much tragedy. Born to abusive parents who, according to Sora, would beat her as a baby to get her to stop crying. When Orihime was 3 years old, Sora took her with him when he ran away at the age of 18. For 9 years, they lived relatively peacefully, though Orihime does get bullied because of the color of her hair. And before I continue, I really want to bring this up because this is something that just dawned on me. So, in the original anime, her hair was depicted as a kind of a vivid orange, in a sense. But it isn't until I think I think it's the Thousand Year Blood War arc. I think it also was shown in the Fullbringer arc, but anyways, her hair was more depicted like auburn, and it made me think her hair looks more naturally occurring versus Ichigo's, which his is more very much nearly like bleached. So it honestly made me think: is it possible that Orihime, very similar to Chad, is also not fully Japanese? Hell, I don't think Uryu is fully Japanese. He has blue eyes. Um, but it does make me think either one of Orihime's parents or one of her grandparents was from like a different country. And that's something I just wanted to bring up just because I just thought that was a very interesting thought. Um, at some point, Sora gives Orihime a pair of hairpins that she actually did not like, and this resulted in an argument that tragically does not get resolved until much later when Sora returns as the Hollow Acid Wire. Later that day, Sora gets into a car accident on his way home, and Orihime essentially drags him to the Kurosaki hospital, not hospital, clinic, my bad, where he dies. Orihime essentially withdrawn herself, given what happened, until she met Tatsuki, and it's through her protecting her and their ever growing friendship that she would never cut her hair as a sign of her friendship with Tatsuki. Despite her bubbly demeanor, Orihime is actually quite intelligent, ranked third in their grade, scoring 887, 9 points behind Uryu, mind you, according to chapter 35. I know that her motivation was because her aunt would cut her off financially if she doesn't keep up with her grades, which, okay, sure. That doesn't really take away that Orihime is ranked third. She is brilliant. Like, she didn't have to, like, reach for the stars in that sense. She could have easily just been within, like, the 20, like, the 20 ranks. But no, she's ranked third. She's shown to be quite observant of her surroundings, as seen when she noticed that Numb Chandelier was spying on her and her friends, as well as assessing that, yeah, this entity is dangerous. Was taught karate by Tatsuki. Her skills equivalent to a high rank or grade, I think. I do remember in the English dub, Tatsuki says something about her being a brown belt. Um, I have no knowledge of karate, but I mean, I'm gonna wager that like it's pretty darn impressive. She has a very active and creative imagination. Like I've talked about that before in the previous video of her pretty unique imagination. I kind of wish we saw more of that. And of course, she actually has a jealous side to her. I've seen debates on her usefulness or lack thereof in the story when people saying that Orihime isn't a fighter. And she isn't. I agree with that. She's not. She'd rather not hurt people if she could help it. But that doesn't mean she was helpless. Yes, while she is pacifistic and non-confrontational, she is capable of fighting. The existence of Tsubaki is proof of that. That she does have a will to fight if she has to. Obviously not to kill. But just a will to fight if she needs to. It is usually like amongst her friends. She's defeated. I feel like a lot of people kind of forgot this. She defeated Numb Chandelier, which is that's a named hollow, which that usually means that hollows that are properly named have killed Shinigami, I believe. And she killed Numb Chandelier by herself. She won that. And that is kind of interesting where that's literally the only time that's the only time she ever killed something, and it's a hollow. I don't know if she did the same thing to a huge hollow in the beginning part of the Thousand Year Blood War arc. I know she participated in the battle, but I don't remember if she just pushed it back or she was able to, kill it. She by herself, she incapacitated two unseated Shinigami of the 11th Division by herself. I mean, granted, they're unseated, but the fact that they're part of the 11th Division is kind of peculiar. Probably one of my favorite things about her, just because she's actually done this more than once. She straight up bit someone so she could go back and help Uryu, even though obviously she would not stand a chance against Miyori, and she actually's done that before. She actually bit someone before, and it was back when what chapter was it? Either 4 or 5. It was when she realized that Acid Wire was her brother, and after what he did to Ichigo, she bit his hand. Not as ferocious from the way it looks. It looks like a little like small bite, because I mean, what can you do? But she was, being active of trying to help somebody. And I kind of forgot about this a little bit. Let's not forget that she slapped Ukiura when he kind of, I'm trying to remember what exactly that scene was. It happened after Chad was defeated by Noitora. And I think Ukiura was insinuating that it's Orihime's fault that this happened. So he either and I don't remember if he insulted Orihime or he insulted the capabilities of her friends. Either way, he got slapped hard by her, and I think I have seen jokes or something or other, where the fact that she managed to slap somebody who has hierro, which, they're supposed to have, like, hardened skin. I'm not sure about Ukiura's level of hierro, like, in comparison to Noitra. But that is impressive on her part. That side of her was somewhat gone, though, in most of Hueco Mundo. Was I expecting her to fight Ukiura, Noitra, Grimjaw, or any of the Espada? Oh no, that girl would not last long. But she could have with Loli and Manoli. I don't mean that she should have attacked them, because again, she's non-confrontational. But she has her defense shield. Yeah, it got shattered by, Yami's strength. It's Yami. And Espada. Loli and Manoli are just fracciones. I think Loli is number 33 and Manoli was 34. I have some interesting thoughts about those two. But, they're just fracciones. And their number in comparison to the Espada has nothing to do with strength, has nothing to do with power. It's just when they were created. Like, the numbers of they were created. That is so bizarre, but whatever. Um, I guess the logic here is that since they are Aizen's aides, then they must be powerful. But they weren't. In fact, I feel like Orihime, because of how observant she really is, she could have easily sensed that Loli and Manoli aren't that powerful. And I do have a section about Loli, a small section about her, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Orihime could have used her shield to protect herself, but didn't. Why is that? In the beginning, Orihime had agency, but it will be sometime during the Hueco Mundo arc where that agency essentially disappears and she starts to put on a more submissive role. For most of Hueco Mundo, Orihime did nothing. She stood to the side for the most part. The one time she acted to protect Ichigo, Ukiura questioned why she didn't do it earlier, and that's an interesting little parallel, considering before, I think this was before, um, oh no, this is after, Ichigo's fight with Grimjow, where Grimjow essentially, tells Ichigo, like, hey, how come you didn't run off with her the moment you saw her? Instead, here you are fighting me. It's an interesting little thing there. Orihime lets Ichigo do most of the work, and I will say this, there's nothing wrong about her finding someone to rely on, especially with everything that she's gone through. But it should not come at the expense of her essentially downgrading herself. And speaking of Ichigo, was generally, I'm not sure if this is like flenderization or what. She was generally laser focused on him, and sure, she was like that before. But some of the time, it felt like she had tunnel vision in regards to him. Before they were properly united, Orihime expressed great concern over feeling her friend's Ryatsu's, like, going out like light bulbs. Even wanting to get out when she felt Rukia's dipping drastically. Which that's more urgency than she got when she felt Ichigo's, like, drop. But when she does reunite with Ichigo, when he was hurt, she was more focused on him rather than those who also needed her aid, that probably needs her aid more than Ichigo does. Such as now, while she's in her child form, that's kid her, right? I don't remember if this was before or after we learned about her adult form. And then there's Uryu, who was missing his arm and a sword in his gut. Back in the Soul Society arc, mere seconds before Mayuri exploded his own men, Orihime leapt in to save Makizo Aramaki, the guy that she bit earlier. There was a manga panel of that. But he was a stranger. She risked her life to save a stranger. When she saw Hollow Ichigo ready to blast with a Sero, she did nothing. All she did was shout at him to stop. Which, did nothing. Would have been a dumb idea of her to stand in front of his attack, like, even with her shields or whatever. Yes. But Uryu did something as equally stupid. Remember that Uryu tried to stop Hollow Ichigo from carving Ukiura's body and got run through by Tensa Zangetsu. That was also a dumb move on Uryu's part, and he's the smartest student in their grade. He's supposed to be the one with the brains in the group. That really just tells you how much Uryu cared for Ichigo's humanity. Orihime, in a way, has been reduced to a classic fairy tale princess, only defined by their beauty, kindness, and submissiveness. Quiet, obedient, and patiently waiting for her Prince Charming to come. You'd be surprised of how different she was pre-Arrancar arc after, if you've just seen mostly of the Hueco Mundo arc. It's weird how much, like, pre-Arrancar arc Orihime and Hueco Mundo and post Arrancar arc Orihime. There's some differences there. A lot of the times in these classic fairy tales containing submissive women, it's for a patriarchal society, where the quiet and dainty dame helps bring out the loud, assertive, and powerful men. The Prince Charming. As long as a girl waits long and patient enough and never acts defiantly and assertively, then the men of her dreams will come in to sweep her off her feet. And as long as she remains quiet and submissive, she be more appealing and desirable to keep around. The narrative essentially had Orihime develop a damsel in distress complex. She's basically regressed to a mere accessory for the male gaze. The whole I will destroy the Hueco The whole I destroyed the Hogyoku plot was one of the many plots that was unfortunately abandoned for one reason or another. This moment was the first and only time Orihime ever come to this conclusion before, obviously just vanished from the narrative. There is this moment, like, I have brought this up in Tumblr, and someone did bring up how Aizen would have never gave her the opportunity. There is a fine line between lack of opportunity and just plain drop, because again, this is the first and only time this is ever brought up. Also, Aizen could have given her the opportunity by giving her the illusion that she's capable of doing this, because Aizen will totally do that. I think that's how Orihime was talked into going with Ulquiorra, that she was made to believe that she did have a choice in the matter to go when she really didn't. She could have somehow snuck out, perhaps while Ulquiorra was out, and that has happened, which what gave Loli Manoli the opportunity to confront her, and find her way to the throne room where the Hokyoku was held, and try to destroy it, only for her to either not be able to, or the Hokyoku was just not there anymore. The point here is that she followed through the plan and at least tried. Would she have been successful? No. You have to remember who claimed her powers to be comparative to gods. Aizen. Orihime's powers aren't god tier. Man, I don't say that often. They have limits. Time and time again, it's proven that Orihime's powers can't reject everything. I am not surprised if Aizen have indeed lied about her full capabilities. Again, give her the illusion that she could do what's what. All that matters is that she tried something. And shoot, this was in connection to her wanting to try and be of use to Ichigo, to show that she could help him in some way. But obviously that's been dropped multiple times. Like, there's been multiple times where she claims she to protect Ichigo as much as she can. Look at the Fullbringer arc, look at the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, when she made those declarations and they unfortunately fall flat. I do wonder if this plot was dropped so that way Orihime has her submissive role in the arc. Now for Loli. And I'm kind of interested in this little dynamic. I'm honestly surprised that no one else has seems to notice this about Loli, but I genuinely believe that is Orihime's dark mirror, so to speak. For one, they have a tomboyish friend, Loli Manoli, Orihime Tatsuki. Second, they are the jealous type, though obviously with Orihime, she's relatively harmless and will never really act upon that jealousy in a very negative way. While Loli is way more visceral about it, like a high school queen wannabe. And lastly, both have an obsession over one guy who doesn't really return the same feelings. To me, Loli pretty much represents everything that Orihime hated about herself. Imagine how the story would have been if this was, like, part of the plot, where Orihime is forced to face that side of her because of Loli. Cause that even that's also dropped the whole fact that Orihime is jealous of Rukia. And I guess also the other tomboyish friend could have been Rukia, although Rukia is like a good blend between girly girl and tomboyish, in my opinion. But I don't know, it just felt like there's a lot of missed opportunities, in my opinion. But it would have been interesting if Loli, like that was Loli's role, is to be Orihime's dark reflection. That something that Orihime has to confront and pretty much accept herself in that sense. Because with who Orihime is, like, she didn't really grow from this experience. I don't think she did. Kind of evident with that imagination she did in Fullbringer, but you know. The Hueco Mundo arc honestly feels like a fairy tale gone wrong. And I'm going to repeat something I've said on my Discord about this whole thing, and what part of it is, quote, and while people have criticized the Hueco Mundo arc being a rehash of the Soul Society arc, what if that was the point? Orihime wanted a similar scenario for herself. Obviously, she kind of went on her own accord, quote unquote. Again, illusion of choice. Um, but, you know, girl, her name. Okay, let me try to take back my thoughts. Orihime, the metaphorical princess, even having princess in her name, gets taken by a beast, Ukiora, and taken to a tower, you know, within Las Noches, and wants to be rescued by a charming prince, that being Ichigo. She's trapped in a tower, awaiting her prince, but unexpectedly grows somewhat close to the beast, sort of not unlike Belle and the Beast in a way. I mean, can't ignore a lot of like the mental hula hoops that Ukiura puts her through. But Ukiura is one interesting dude, because you can tell that slowly but surely being around Orihime has changed him. Orihime's prince finally arrives with the mask of a beast. And at some point, her prince dies, but returns to life as a monster. Her cries for him to stop fall on deaf ears as he continues, you know, to destroy, you know, the rooftop of the palace. And I also have this thought in mind in conjunction with the whole Loli being her dark reflection. And that what else could Hueco Mundo could have been about? Like each arc has like its own mini story in a sense, like an own theme. And honestly, I feel like what because of I'm not sure how many chapters have these, but you know there were multiple chapters that had or referenced the seven deadly sins, and it makes and now with this in mind, no, you know, dark reflection and whatnot. Perhaps what could have been what what Hueco Mundo could have been about was facing your inner demons. I mean, that kind of happened with Rukia a small bit with Arnyato when he presented himself as Kayan, facing her own inner demons. But in this case, I'm mostly focusing on Ichigo and Orihime. For Ichigo, it's his literal inner demon, which he consistently tries to repress, like, you know, take control over. Obviously, it kind of, you know, boiled over into Hollow Ichigo. But with Orihime, it's her metaphorical demons in the form of her jealousy and her obsessions. And again, with Loli being her mirror in that sense, and again, Orihime consistently trying to reject this side of her instead of accepting the fact that that is who she is. Same thing with Ichigo with his literal demon, which, you know, later on you learn that, yes, his inner hollow is not a separate entity. It is a part of him. Such as Orihime, her jealousy is a part of who she is. Going back to the whole fairy tale, allegory, I do wonder if, like, deep down, Orihime wished for something more for her tragic life. Because this girl, again, this girl had trauma, got trauma in spades. Have her want to have that beautiful fairy tale ending. But here's the thing about fairy tales, a good bit of them are also cautionary tales. And that's obviously it of this video. Man, I wanted to get this over with so badly, mostly because, like, I'm kind of getting tired of the freaking critiquing of this thing. Because, I mean, yeah, this show has issues, this story has issues, and I'm honestly starting to feel bad about consistently sticking around them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like, criticizing and whatever. Constructive criticism, obviously. But I feel like for now, this is going to be my last video that is directly criticizing a part of the story. I mean, I'm probably still going to do some criticisms, like, sprinkle them a little bit, but it's not going to be the main focus. I really still next want to talk about, like, other parts of the Bleach lore that is fascinating to me. And obviously, what I'm thinking about next is the 6 realms of Bleach. Because I do remember here, I don't know if this was like a Twitter post or like it was an interview from Tete Kubo, that Bleach, like the realms in Bleach, is based off of the realms in Buddhism, and I love me some like lore from different faiths and mythologies. So this would be a fun video to like critique with, to analyze and whatnot. And I'm trying to remember, there was another video I wanted to tackle. I'm trying to remember what that was. Oh well, but this is my plan. This is the video I plan on doing next. Hopefully, I'm able to. I was initially gonna do 2 videos a month, but I think because I came back, recently coming back into the fold of YouTube, I think it's better for me to just do this like once a month. Um, it's better on my brain at least. But yeah. Um, come to expect to see a video about the 6 realms of Bleach. But until then, have a blessed day and please stay tuned for more.